Good evening. Tonight we're going to go over some of the intermediate Excel skills. Businesses routinely use large amounts of information, and this would include things like customer mailing lists, phone lists, product inventories, sales transactions, and things like that. And so tonight we're going to look at 5 areas that you can use in Excel to help you with managing that information. Excel lists, Excel conditional formatting, Excel autofilter, Excel subtotals, and pivot tables. A list is a collection of rows and columns with consistently formatted data that adheres to somewhat stricter rules than an ordinary worksheet. When you create a list, keep the following in mind. You must maintain a fixed number of columns or categories of information. Use each column to hold the same type of information. In other words, integer, date, string. A column only has one type of information. Don't leave blank rows or columns in your list area, and make your list the only information in the worksheet, and that makes it easier for Excel to recognize that data as a list. And then maintain your data's integrity by entering the information consistently. So let's take a look at a list in Excel. Move this up a little bit. And here we have a workbook with a worksheet, and I have a column for name, a column for age, a column for state. And I have consistently entered the same type of information: a string for name, a number for age, and a string for state. You can continue adding new records in by just typing in consistently new names, ages, and states. So once we've organized our records into a list, we can sort them to help us do further analysis. To sort a list based on one column, what we do is we will click any cell in our particular list. We'll go up to Data, then we'll go to Sort, bring Sort over here, and then you can see we can select the column we want to sort on. Let's sort by age, and then we can sort smallest to largest, largest to smallest, or create a custom list. We'll go smallest to largest. And then we click OK, and now our data is sorted by age. If we want to sort a list based on 2 or 3 columns, we follow a very similar procedure. We place our cursor and click on one of the cells in our list, go up to Sort, then we'll sort by state, A to Z. We'll add a level. Then within state, we'll sort by age, smallest to largest. Then we'll click OK. So now, for example, in the state of Maryland, we have Jeffrey and Jimmy, 1 and 30. We can also create a custom sort. So to do that, we again place our cursor and click a cell in our list. Then we're going to open up the Sort dialog, and I'm going to delete this level for now. Then we come over and we click the Custom List. So we go over to Order By for a particular level, and instead of A to Z or Z to A, I'm going to click Custom List. Then I'm going to click New List, and I'll type in WV, VA, and MD. I'll click Add, and now that is added as one of my custom lists. So I will then click OK and OK, and now it sorts by that custom list for me. So another thing we can do is custom formatting or conditional formatting, and that lets us highlight cells of interest and gives us visualization capabilities in Excel to highlight certain things of interest. So Excel gives us this ability to add conditional formatting, and this is formatting that automatically adjusts depending on the contents of your cells, and this means you can highlight important trends in your data. So to create a conditional format, we'll bring up our worksheet again, and we'll click on a column. We'll click on age, and we'll go up to home, and then under home we've got conditional formatting under styles. Then I'll click highlight cell rules, and I'll say between, and I'll say the ages of 20 and 50. I want to highlight those with green, let's say. So now, as you can see, people that are between 20 and 50 years of age are highlighted. So that's because I have done this conditional formatting for them. We can also apply a table style as well to our data. So we can highlight our data and then come up to format as a table, and we get a wide variety of choices for our formatting as a data table. I'll go ahead and select this one, and we can see I've added a table style as well. And we'll go back and go back. So now we're back to normal. Now we can also do something known as filtering. So when you want to hide all of the records or rows in your list except those that meet certain criteria, you can use the auto filter command, and it's on the filter submenu of the data menu. So the auto filter command places a drop-down list at the top of each column in your list. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Here we go. And we'll bring this up. So now we have our list again. So again, we click on any cell within our list. We come up to data, and then under sort and filter, we click filter, and it's now added filter capabilities to our list. So, for example, if we only wanted to show the people in the state of Maryland, we would select only Maryland from our list. And then we get only the people in Maryland. And I can then run something like an average to get the average age of people in Maryland. And then I highlight the two records we have, and I get 15.5 years of age as the average age for the folks in the state of Maryland. Now we can also create a custom filter. So I'll get this back to everyone here. So to create a custom filter, we'll go in here and we click a state, for example, and then we come down and we're going to click text filters, and then the pop-up menu for text filters, we go down and we click custom filter. So that brings up our custom filter dialog box, and in that we're going to say where state equals West Virginia or state equals Virginia. And we click that, and you can see that now we are showing the states that are in our custom filter, West Virginia and Virginia. Okay, and then we'll bring this one up. Go over here and just select everybody. And I'm going to get rid of that little average that we did as just a demo. Okay, so now we've got our list like it was before. Let's continue on with the lecture. So the fourth thing we're going to discuss in this lecture on Intermediate Excel is how to use the subtotal command with Excel. The subtotals command helps us organize and analyze a list by displaying records in groups and then inserting summary information such as subtotals, averages, max and min values, things like that for each one of the groups. The subtotals command can also display a grand total at the top or bottom of your list, and that lets you quickly add up columns of numbers. So let's go ahead and see how we create such a list of subtotals. So I will bring up our worksheet again. So we're going to sort by state. So let's sort by state normally. A to Z. There we have A to Z states. Then we're going to click any cell in our list. Then we click our Data tab. Then we go over to the Outline tab under Data, and we'll click Subtotal. And for each change in state, so we want to get a subtotal for each state. Let's get the average age by state. So at each change in state, use the function average, and of course we wanted the average age, so we'll go ahead and click that. And now we've got an average by state, the average age by state, and then also a grand average that we can use. Okay, so subtotals are very convenient for getting aggregation type information, averages, sums, counts, max, min, and other aggregate functions. Okay, and then the fifth and last topic that we'll be discussing tonight is the pivot table in Excel. There's a powerful built-in data analysis feature in Excel called the pivot table. A pivot table analyzes, summarizes, and manipulates data in large lists, also in databases, worksheets, or other data collections. This data analysis feature is called a pivot table because fields can be moved within the table to create different types of summary lists, providing a pivot. So some of the terminology: a row field. Row fields have a row orientation in a pivot table and are displayed as row labels. A column field is a field that has a column orientation in a pivot table report, and they're displayed as column labels. A data field is a field from a list or table that contains summary data, such as numeric data, statistics, sales amounts, things like that. And then a page or filter field filters out data for other items and displays one page at a time in a pivot table report. So let's see how we make a pivot table in Excel. Now this time I'm going to be using a larger set of data. So I'm using a different worksheet here, and I'm going to click on any cell in here in the lists of data. Then I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and I'm going to click Pivot Table. In my data range, I'm going to stick with A1 E97, and I'm going to put my pivot table in a new worksheet. So I'll click OK, and we now see that I've got a pivot table I can start building that's in a new worksheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag month into the filters table. Then I'm going to drag sale and put that into so I've dragged the month into the filters section. I've dragged sale into the values section. I'm going to drag region into the columns. And I'm going to take magazine and put that into rows. So now I've got my pivot table. I'm going to format this data to be more appropriate for sales. So I'm going to make it a currency with no decimal values, and we'll increase the size of this a little bit, and this a little bit, and also column D. So now we've got our data. We've got subtotals by each type of combination of magazine and region or geographic area. So with the row labels, I can go in and I can say I don't want all the row labels. I'm going to check business times and dollars and cents, and so I get those. Or I can say, well, I do want all of those, but I only want for the Northeast. So I click those. Likewise, I can say, okay, I want all these, but I want to look at just a particular month, so I'm going to then select that month. And we see what we have for just that particular month. Or I can, select all the months again, and we're back to where we were. So pivot table is very powerful. We can modify the pivot table also. So I'm going to click in my pivot table, and you see it brings up the dialog box. And let's say I'm not interested in the sum of the sales. I'm interested more in the average sales. So I click on average, and I get average sales in each one of the region. And now let's go back and just do the sum of sales. And we'll close out this. And the final thing we'll do is create a pivot chart. And this is a column chart by default that is based on the data in a pivot table. To build a pivot chart, we're going to use the chart wizard on the pivot table toolbar. And so I'm going to go here and then pivot table chart right here. Bring this over in, and I'm going to make a clustered column report, and I'll click that, and here we have it. So this shows us sales, the sum of the sales. The regions are the different color codes for these clusters of 4 bars per magazine, and of course magazine on the bottom. We can also do the selection here. Let's say we only want to look at business times. So we select just business times. And then we can go back and select them all. And let's say we only want to look at Northeast as a region. So, I will come down here and just go East and North. And now we get just those that we're interested in, and I can go back and then reselect them all as well. So this gives you the ability to do some very good descriptive statistical visualization of what's going on with your data. Okay, that concludes this lecture. Thank you.